that's absolutely powerful. And then those of us who volunteered all 4 days, working 12 and 13 hours per day, every single day, some of us going to work and coming to work, it shows that people really believe in this ticket. Not only that, it's about humanizing. And I think with the Democratic National Convention, what it does is once again humanizes those who sit in high places, with Governor Tim Walz, who sits there, because he's more human, he's more reachable, he's more relatable. And I think that's the power of this ticket, and that's what we've seen a lot of just working in the convention over the past 4 days.
Right. And, and while we're nonpartisan, and we're certainly not endorsing any ticket, we're not encouraging anyone to vote any particular way, but we do have observations that we're still able to make from the positions that we hold. Drake Smith, you were not a delegate. You were not working the floor. You weren't one of the, folks that was there, but you showed up on your own accord. And, when you got to the DNC and you had an opportunity to see what was going on, what did you see represented from that Gen Z class that you could see as a through line as to what was happening through the DNC, what's happening when you're in the communities working? Did you see representation from your generation?
Oh, yeah. I think the DNC was a culmination of young people, experienced people, people of all different generations coming together. This is my first DNC. It definitely will not be my last, because we have to show up in those rooms. And I feel like the Democratic Party is very receptive to young people. I'm sure Edward on the floor saw a lot of younger delegates from all across the state. I knew some young delegates from Maryland and Pennsylvania who are about my age, and some were younger. Shout out to the chair, Mignon Moore, and LaToya Jones, who actually invited a group of us Lincoln students there. It was myself, Jalen Marshall, who's also a former TJC fellow, and Jeswan Sine, who just put in her application to be a TJC fellow for this cohort in Washington, D.C. So I'm gonna put a plug in for her. We all enjoyed it, and Chicago is a beautiful city, beautiful city. I enjoyed it, and it was just so powerful. I mean, it didn't feel like a convention. It felt more so like a concert. Everybody's exciting, everybody's yelling, everybody's cheering, and we just got to take the energy from the convention and bring it back home. So we will definitely bring it back here to Lincoln and make sure that we get out to vote and we do our job on November 5th.
All right. And that is just so exciting. I mean, we were really taken. People have been calling us and radio shows and everything, and they've been asking Daryl and I, was it real? All that enthusiasm. Was it real? Yes, folks. It was even more than what you could tell on TV. Folks were just on fire. But what I want to ask is, what did you think about the roll call? Now, I've seen a whole lot of roll calls. That's usually where everybody goes to sleep. People don't come. It's usually the least attended part of, some of the, conventions, because they're boring, or people only come, for their state to be heard, and then they, kind of slowly drift away. But for this one, it was different. Edward, tell people why it was different. I mean, why it had people so excited, I should say.
Yeah, I tell you, the roll call, it was something. It was great. I mean, the energy was phenomenal. Now, I was both on the outside and on the inside of the convention, and we know that when the roll call is happening, they close the convention floor. Now, because I was a worker, I was able to leave out and come back in. And so on the outside, when the roll call started, people, they left, right? But then they were fighting to get back through the door because the roll call was so live. It's like, what's happening in here? And so, Lil Jon shows up and everything, and it's like, I need to get back in. And so now folks are getting ready to fight because they can't get back in. I was able, however, to get back in, and I tell you, it was really a party just on the floor. And it's like those were some of the most powerful moments just to be in, because it's like not only is this history in the making, but we're dancing our way into history. We're dancing our way to the polls. We're dancing our way to making a difference. And so it's like, you know what? this is something, the energy that we want to keep with the Democratic Party. It's not the doom and gloom that we typically hear in other areas. It's more so a celebration to say that we won't go back, as the typical language has been used throughout the DNC was. We won't go back, but as we move forward, there's a celebration. And the celebration, I got to tell you, was magnificent. The only thing that was missing in that moment were a bunch of party favors, right? But I think those lights that they had were also a form of party favor. But it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
And, Karen, Barbara, the one thing that, and Barbara, you may want to speak to this, you and Karen, one of the things that, was really impressing to me on the Thursday night wasn't just the AKAs, but it was all the women who were dressed in white. And Barbara, you want to share why all these women, black, white, and all other origins, were dressed in white?
Well, they were dressed in white in part because of the suffragist movement, and this is, taking down the, quote, glass ceiling, and people were, also just celebrating, the different, sorority colors. You saw a lot of fuchsia, pink, all those colors, and green, for, the AKAs, and it was just, I thought, amazing. But Daryl, I wanted to also talk about with Karen about the black job. The black job. that black job.
Yeah, Michelle Obama killed it. It's she, everything that she had been experiencing or thinking over the last year, she put in those 15, 20 minutes, and she just loved it. And I've seen the memes and the songs that have been created as a result, and they're hilarious. But the way that she brought it home with respect to, when they talk about crime, he's a convicted criminal. When they talk about the border, how he killed the border bill. When they talk about family values, how he, paid hush money to a porn star. When he talks about defense, talk about January 6th and the economy. He presided over, 2.7 million jobs. And then from there, they also talked about up to 50 million jobs created over the last, 20, 30 years. One side has created 50 million, the other guy's created one. So when he talked about, he's trying to get one of those black jobs, I was like, go ahead, sis. She just laid it out. And I just really felt that the convention was so informative, but not in a overly dense way.
Yes.
They gave you nuggets of information that you could go back and share with your friends or share with people who are on the fence and why this versus that. And certainly, I represent an organization that's nonpartisan as well. But what we ask people to do is vote in your best interest. Vote in the interest of your families, the interest of your community, in your best interest, and just get the information. And I felt they did a masterful job of communicating that.
All right now. And, and I thought that they bailed the cat with the Project 2025. But tell us, Drake, what was for you the number one thing that just set your heart afire, that made you say, wow, it was worth every minute getting here? What was your favorite moment at this convention?
I would say it was the speakers. I can't just say I had this one favorite speaker or one favorite moment. But I think Jasmine Crockett was the highlight for me when she said, "Don't let a vile villain violate the voters' vision." Someone needs to put that on a shirt. Some days I wish I had a screen printing machine so I could put that on a shirt and sell it. But then, I liked when they had Yusef Salaam, one of the exonerated five, come up with Reverend Sharpton and give his story. That we have the man who now is a convicted sex offender was calling for them to have the death penalty for something they did not do. I think that's crazy. And then, of course, they honored my hero, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I thought that was beautiful, very timely, because he really set the stage. And I want everybody to remember, Reverend Jackson told us to keep hope alive, but if you listen to his speeches, he also said, it gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. And it got dark in 2016. it almost got dark again in 2020, but the morning came in 2020, and I know we wake up on November 6th, we'll see a brighter tomorrow because the morning will come. So I think that was just timely. It was beautiful. And then this last thing it was the last moment in Chicago. Me and the other two Lincoln students, we were in our Uber heading to the airport, O'Hare, and we were talking with an Uber driver. His name is Hassan. Hassan has been in the United States for almost 30 years. He escaped from Sudan. And he told us that, he's very excited that the DNC was in town because every tip he gets from being an Uber driver, he donates it back to the DNC, back to the Harris campaign.
Wow.
And I thought that was very powerful because he said that he escaped the dictatorship and he does not want to live another one. He wants a better life for his family. He has raised a doctor of urology, his son. His other daughter is a nurse, and his other daughter is getting her master's in neurology. So he's living the American dream, and that's just crucial that, immigrants make America strong. And we shouldn't fall for the trap of xenophobia because Hassan was the proudest American I've ever met. And that really inspired myself, Jeslon, and Jalen as we got on our flight and we're back here at Lincoln. Because if he can make that sacrifice, we can do the same thing.
Wow. Daryl, take us home. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Barbara. Really, let me first say, Dr. McRae, if people want to reach you, how do they reach you?
Sure. CBMnational.org, CBMnational.org, and we're on social media at CBM National. Thank you, Daryl.
And Drake Smith, if folks want to reach you over at Lincoln, how do they reach you? My Sigma friend.
You can look me up on LinkedIn, Drake Smith, or email me, drake.smith@lions.lincoln.edu.
Okay, and our lawyer in waiting, Edward Stewart, how do folks reach you if they want to reach you?
Yes, you can reach me at my email at edwardeward3@gmail.com, or you can reach me on Instagram via Instagram. That's the number 4, Ward ____.
Awesome. We're so thankful to each of you for being on this show this afternoon and all that you do. You're the epitome of what we say when we say get off the sidewalk and get into the street and make something happen that you want to see happen. We're also very thankful to Daryl Baldwin for being on the show this afternoon. We encourage everyone to go online and buy a copy of To Be a Problem, A Black Woman's Survival and the Racist Disability Rights Movement. Folks, now is the time. Please go to vote.org, check on your registration status, check on the status of folks in your family, check everybody out, and be certain that you get off the sidewalk, get into the street, be the change that you want to be. That's what we're talking about happening here, is making the change that you want to make. You want to ignite that change? Be with us, igniting change. If you're in D.C. September the 11th, we'll be there with the Congressional Black Caucus. Say hi.
Hey.
And it wasn't just a job, it was keeping my brothers and sisters safe. And coming back, it felt like kind of thrown away. It's like you're useless. We don't really have a need for you now because you can't really do anything for us. That's the way I felt. If it hadn't have been for Wounded Warrior Project, I honestly don't know if I would be here. It was the camaraderie that I saw and had. It was like I got my family back again. We all felt the connection, like that brother and sisterhood.
See how Wounded Warrior Project empowers women veterans like Donna by visiting woundedwarriorproject.org/empowerwomenvets.
WOL Washington, D.C. W240DJ Washington. 95.9 WMMJ HD3 Bethesda. WKYS HD3 Washington. WPRS HD3 Waldorf.